It's now time to determine the first player advancing on to the round of 16 from Group C. My name's Kyle Laris alongside Sean Apollo Clark. And it's going to be Mr. TLO going up against MMA.
The winner's match of Group C is about to begin. MMA, the son of boxer, the former son of boxer, however you want to look at it, currently playing for Team Acer, down at 52 WCS global points, playing for Korea in the Europe region, going up against Dario TLO Wunsch. I hope I said that well. Wunsch,
pretty good.
Rank 5 in the Premier League Season 1, played and represented the Europe region in the Season 1 global finals, going head-to-head now against each other.
9th through 12th there at that season finals, the highest finishing foreigner, currently sitting at rank 10 in the WCS points, currently sitting to the point where he can actually advance on to the finals over at BlizzCon, that top 16. But then we have MMA, currently sitting around 45 or 56 or something like that. But the point is now he has to win. He wants those extra points. Nobody wants to say, don't want to bother finishing in the top 16. Don't really care, because BlizzCon is going to be an amazing stage.
BlizzCon will be a fantastic tournament. All top 16 players within the WCS point system will be present. Today, though, as we just look at what we're having in front of us, one player from this match will join the likes of MVP, Tefel from Group A, Stefano and MC from Group B to play live here in Cologne, Germany in roughly 3-4 weeks' time. Don't quote me on that, I don't know when it is, but it's soon when the Group 32 or round of 32 is done. Which player will join those 4 fantastic ones that are already in the round of 16?
I can't wait for those live events. They were fantastic in Season 1, and if you're not already planning, don't know the dates fully yet, or they haven't been announced yet, but if you're not already planning to come to those round of 16s and further, then you should definitely plan to.
Yeah, make your way to Cologne, Germany. Come see us, come see the players in the round of 16. But for now, we have these 2 players playing in the winner's match.
As we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, the winner of our previous series against Mr. Tails, spawning in blue, he is Acer MMA. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner as our red Zerg, beating Mana in the previous series as well, he is Liquid TLO.
TLO, TLO. You hear that? That is the whispers of what was here not so long ago.
A sample.
Just a sample of what is to come.
Maybe.
If the TLO is able to beat out MMA here in this best of 3 winners match. Who's coming to Germany? Who has to go down back into the pit of Group C to face off the winner between Mana and Tails?
That was a good save. But you're right. I mean, TLO, he couldn't have picked a better tournament to perform well at, considering that all the offline stuff is actually played here in Germany, and he has the power of the crowd behind him. And whoa, MMA getting a bit cheeky to kick things off.
To kick things off, we will have a double barracks, 11 supply and 12 supply, or maybe 13, depends on how. It's going to be 13, I think, unless he saves money. Okay, he's going to save money. So 11, 12 supply barracks.
The positioning of it is crazy, though. As, once again, me.
You?
This time, it's me.
Laris, behave.
I'm not doing anything, man. I'm just...
Behave! Pack it in.
I'm sorry. I just...
That's it.
There we go.
Everybody needs to tweet to Claris saying #behave.
Oh, God. Have you really just done that to me?
#behave, you cheeky guy. All right, 11, 12 supply versus hatchery first. And 15, if we see 15 gas, we shouldn't know. What's that clicking?
It's sending
what is
something.
that red dot? What is that clicking?
It's an overlord, but it's so far away.
It's going to get there, though. And it'll give him the heads up. Kinda, but it's not going to hit him by surprise. When you get hit by surprise, and I say hit by surprise, is when Marines in the bunker's already building and they're already there killing the hatchery. It will give him a slight heads up to what's coming, and there he does see it. And
this is a very, very clever, interesting place, at least for MMA to go for this double barracks. It's so close. These Marines are going to be there so quickly that TLO has to react pristinely to what is going on right now. He tries to tickle away at that SCV, but he knows that first Marine's already there. Not messing around, brings a lot of drones down for the fight.
And he's going to chase that Marine, but 2 more about to pop out, or at least 1 more for a second. And is he going to get that Marine kill? That's major if he does, but the Marine does pop out. 3rd one's on its way.
chasing it so far, and now with any Marine that pops out, it's going to be right next to these drones, so you have to be very, very careful indeed. The
nice
drones
micro.
trying to chase back, but MMA not doing too bad a job here.
Really nice micro by TLO. Hasn't lost he's lost one drone, I think.
Yes,
And now another one, because that Marine should target down. Okay.
One worker in total. Second one does go down as well here. There's quite a few Marines out. He hasn't lost any of the Marines, though.
The bunker didn't complete either. The Lings are coming.
He's trying to move through there with the SCVs to try and complete that up, but at the same time, he now leaves his Marines vulnerable to those drones. The Zerglings are on the way. He needs to get in.
Glorious!
It's not me! It's not me! It's TLO!
TLO is in.
All right, okay, the Marines need to position themselves properly. One of the SCVs does go down as well. It's going to limit how much repair he can get if he actually does this, but he also needs to get to the bunker. But the drones are doing a good job of zoning out. There's no more Zerglings left here, though. MMA controlling this fantastically.
All right, the Marines are going to kill the Overlord. They're in the bunker. The supply depot's down.
GG!
GG. A very excited GG there, Claris.
Yeah!
As that was actually more tense with the drop screens than the actual game, because that was scary. And the reason why I screamed was because that is in the middle of a Zergling Marine war.
Yeah.
If you've played StarCraft and
tough.
that's happened, I reckon there's pictures of you smashing your desk.
Probably.
Because it is very frustrating when that happens. May have been illustrated a little bit there in that cast. But whatever happens to your desk or to my credibility as a caster when I scream, is that MMA picks up game number 1.
Impressive. Impressive opener. But TLO going into game number 2.
Yeah.
He'll know that for shenanigans potential, but I don't think he'll go for a second time. That would be crazy. MMA, I think, just goes into a normal game here, but MMA has major balls.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember specifically casting TLO at DreamHack just a couple of weeks back when Tasia did the very same thing in game number 1. Was it game number 1? No, it was game number 2.
Game number 2, I think.
On I know it was on Neoplan S. I don't know which game it was. It was game number 1 or 2. But either case is that he lost to another cheese like that.
Yeah.
And that's, cost TLO a couple of games recently. So I'm not sure if he needs to maybe improve his Overlord scouting, be Tefl, as we saw against MVP, and go spawning pool first every game. But whatever the case, he is dropping games against 2 racks. And that is hurting his percentage on probability of beating Terran players. So it's definitely something he'll need to focus on in the near future as we get into next game. Do you know what the map is at all?
The next map is... Where were we? First map was...
Neoplanet, I think, or Newkirk. I'm not sure. Well, Whirlwind's second. Whirlwind's second. I saw it in the...
Yes, Whirlwind is second.
So this map, we probably won't see a double barracks here. It's a lot more difficult to pull off considering you don't know where your opponent has spawned. But I think that we still could see something aggressive from MMA, depending on spawning positions. If they're, for example, both on the left-hand side of the map, it's more difficult for TLO to get an Overlord in. Even cross-position, it is actually difficult to get an Overlord scout on Whirlwind. So we may see something crazy from MMA, but what I'm expecting is a command center first play against TLO, who won't 6-pull. He'll go hatchery first as well, and it'll play out normally. But I said that about Tails every single game. That never worked.
Mr. Tails, man, he's a character. But MMA now 1 game up against TLO. 1 game away from advancing on to the round of 16 is our Korean Terran. A lot of people went into this group thinking that maybe TLO would take that first spot, but now he's slightly in jeopardy of not doing so. So you can imagine that here TLO is not going to do anything too crazy. He's going to pull out all the stops here to take out MMA, bringing it back to that 1-1.
I think a lot of people, including myself, and I'm going to say on your behalf that you're expecting TLO to make it through here.
I am.
I think a lot of people are expecting that. But for MMA to make it through first place really complicates the group for TLO to come back down to those other 3 players. So this can really spice things up or can go as expected. I think those are the 2 kind of ways we'll look at this group. Because if MMA goes through first place, I think a lot of people are hoping for him to go through overall, but in first place. Because I think Mana's going to come back fighting against TLO if they were to meet again. And Tails is always dangerous if he's able to beat that PvP out. So it does really complicate this group for sure. But we'll see what TLO can do coming on to Whirlwind, whether he can make that comeback. What
you just said then, I would be very interested to see what Tails would do against TLO if it were to come to that. That would be an interesting game.
Couple of cheeses, no doubt in my mind. Just don't know which ones. But yeah, we'll see if that happens. But we are now loading into the next map here between MMA and TLO. Both players from Season 1, all 3 players from Season 1 Premier League.
Yeah.
TLO's the only one that's new and fresh into Premier League. We'll see if they can move on. MMA did, TLO did previously, and Mana fell in the round of 32.
Yeah. As we have now, game number 2, spawning up to the top right-hand corner. Currently 1 game down here as our blue Zerg. He is Liquid TLO. And spawning up to the top left as our red Terran. Currently 1 game up. He is Acer MMA.
MMA, 24 years old, and has seen a lot of glory in his time. A lot of glory. But all those days to come back to be what they once were. And it's a question that's been on everybody's mind pretty much since, you know, Slayers disbanded and his results went. And they really did just do that.
Yeah, they did. But as you said, he's been performing much better now.
Yeah.
Acer Team Story Cup has been his proving ground for that, and he's beaten a lot of players there. And it's high competition in the Team Story Cup right now. Very high competition. Representing Acer pretty well there so far.
But, I mean, you know, if we're talking about rises and comebacks and whatnot, what a comeback TLO has made. I mean, everybody harps on about it, but it is so true. He did drop down through injury, bear in mind, to the bottom of the barrel of all players, and he had to work very hard to recover, to focus on improving his wrist back to playing standards. Now does things like warm up before each game he plays. He has his wrist flat on the desk, an arm length from elbow. His elbow is on the edge of the table, and he plays with his arms flat. And he works out, and he keeps a fresh mind and fresh attitude to the game. And with all these things put together, TLO's made this comeback from what he really used to be, and was a very, you know, creative. I like to say creative because he hates the word creative. A very creative, you know, intelligent player back in the day. He
even goes as far as to not sleep on his arms. It was said in an interview he goes as far to not sleep on his arms. It was said at the DreamHack, I believe. So very, very slight modifications in his lifestyle have allowed him to slowly get to this point where now he is an absolute top contender. I think TLO, out of every esports personality I know outside of Korea, because there are people in Korea, I'd say TLO is an athlete. Yeah. Out of all the players I know outside of Korea, the regime's there. I'd say the #1 player for you know, if anyone was to say in esports in StarCraft 2, if you were to give one player the title of athlete, who would it be? And I'd say TLO instantly. Instantly. He's doing himself proud at this point in time. He's doing Germany proud. Yes, that's the biggest thing too. Yeah. Is because in his downfall, didn't have that many German fans, in all honesty. Did not have that many. But now he's bringing them back. He's bringing the faith back. He is. And now, going up against MMA, though, he's down 1 game. So can he bring it back against MMA, as he got a gas on the way here? Yeah, I did see the gas come down. And that could be, I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put it past him. That's one of his, you know, one of his builds to go to is a big Roach Baneling play or something. One of his specials. Definitely. Upon seeing Command Center first, it's definitely an option here. But on the other hand, we do see just double gases taken from MMA, Barracks Reactor Factory, super standard build so far. TLO doesn't necessarily have to go for an all-in from this. He can very easily just research speed and then just save up towards getting his upgrades nice and early. He does have a 3rd hatch on the way, which is kind of normal if he wants to still go to for an all-in. But the thing that... No, okay, I was going to say I thought he's on 4 queens. No, 3. That's okay. No. On 3, so just transitioning over, but MMA behind this, he's going for his armory to kick things off with that Hellbat drop play, which really could cause a little bit of a hindrance here to TLO. TLO famously, well, not so famously, but said to me and you that he felt comfortable against this kind of play during Season 1. Now, how comfortable will he be when MMA brings it to the table? TLO now on his natural has taken a 2nd gas. This is usually an indication of him going for that kind of play. But upon throwing down double Evo, no, slap down. He will just play this out normal. So now the game comes down to how well does TLO, if he even knows it's coming, defend against these Hellbat drops. The amount of damage he takes or does not take dictates the pace for the entire of the game, the rest of the game. Yeah, he has to keep those drones alive. He has to have the economy stable. If a lot of drones go down from that Hellbat drop play, then anything that he wants to do in the mid-game is completely denied. Imagine you get up to your optimum amount of drones, and then you have to replenish those because you've lost a lot of them. You're losing time in building units. You're losing time on, maybe if you lose a few queens as well, trying to push creep into the middle of the map. So it can be a tough spot if you do lose those initially.
One thing to note here is MMA's added on extra barracks. And a lot of people may be thinking, oh, cool, follow-up build, follow-up attack. Yes, that kind of can happen. But what's been happening a lot, even we casted games that happen a lot. Hold that thought, there are Hellions making their way to the third, but there was no drones there. But what happened a lot, for example, Demaga, you Hellbat drop him, he defends, counterattacks, wins. So that scenario happened a lot. Terran players since then have been adjusting and getting 2 barracks down before the 3rd command center to prevent that very thing.
Exactly. With Marauders on the way to deal with that as well. The Zergling did spot the Hellbats, though, there. So that's going to be a little bit of a good read for TLO, as he does try and scout on in. And we'll see the extra barracks behind this. So he knows that despite him trying to defend the drops, as we had a little bit of a poke in here from MMA, but it didn't work out too well. As long as he defends them, he'll be okay, but he can't go for a huge counterattack.
Yeah, the funny thing is he hasn't even attempted to drop them yet. I mean, he's tried to get in, but he hasn't reached the mineral line at this point. He just has that one medivac in the middle. But, you know, TLO's got spores, 2 spores in his natural, spore in his main.
On the way.
Baneling's on the way as well, so he's really well set up to defend against this at this point. Taking 0 damage. Remember what I said earlier, it really does dictate the pace of the game, because when you invest in this, if you do not do damage with Hellbats, look how late the engineering bays are. And the engineers are so late in this game that TLO is already finishing 1-1. The part that he does not have, which he'll add, like, as he comes out of this pause, is the layer. See? As the layer comes down, he'll be able to go straight into 2-2. So far, I'd say this is a really good game here being played out from TLO.
That being said, TLO is losing a few of the overlords to this Viking. He lost 1 scouting to Marines and now has lost 2 to this Vikings thus far. So it's a bit of a hindrance. And MMA's trying to stretch his opponent thin. He's poking him with the Hellbat drop at the top from time to time, whilst having those Hellions at the base as well. And this is one way which the spawns have worked out well for MMA. But TLO has accounted for these kinds of potentials and has done really, really well thus far and holding strong.
Yeah, if we look through TLO's vision, he never saw the 3rd command center. So with not seeing the 3rd command center come down, he doesn't know that this isn't a big play from MMA. So he's making spine crawlers and a lot of units where he could be making a few more drones or a 4th base. But because he hasn't scouted in these positions and Vikings have been clearing up the overlord, he's forced into thinking that a 2-base, potential, as you say, Marauder Hellbat push is coming. With that lack of information, he is hindering himself a little bit in progression-wise. For example, he morphed Banelings and added a Spire now that... Oh, the Spire kind of takes away from the +2 carapace, but still, he had slowed him down a little bit.
Yeah, technically, if he were to gather momentum and gather speed with the Spire eventually, I'm not 100% sure as to his Marine count. If we just check the units tab, it is 15. Well, those can actually push it back. But if he were to kill those off with a few Banelings and stuff like that, there's not too many mixed into this army. Obviously, there's the Marauders that have been added on to deal with some kind of Roach plays later on, and maybe soak up some Banelings as well. But it could be difficult for MMA if he's caught off guard.
I am a little bit interested why MMA's decided to add on additional bunkers on his natural, feeling threatened for some reason. I wonder if he wants to be 100% certain before Combat Shield's 1-1 is done and Medivacs are out. Maybe. Because at that point, he's at his weakest. Once those upgrades complete and Medivacs come out is when he becomes the strongest. You know, if we look at the cost of making sure making himself secure, additional 2 bunkers, man, what's that? It's nothing. So you can easily salvage them, I think. So I think it's just him playing safe against TLO more so than anything else.
Yeah, switching things over now as the Zerglings will try and hunt down some of those Hellions in the middle of the map. I was thinking that they would go over to the 3rd base to try and deny that for a little bit, but no, no, no. We need the production tab back as well, just to see exactly. There we go. The Mutalisks are now on the way for TLO. So he's going to try and keep his opponent pinned back a little bit, but if MMA stabilizes on 3 base, there's a scary amount of potential that MMA has in his macro.
Yeah, you know, once MMA, he's already racing forward with, you know, 25 supply lead at this point, so it's already showcasing itself. But TLO, very surprisingly, I see a 2nd Spire on the way.
Well, Is there a second spire? Wow, there is.
He's got a second spire coming in. This tells me that he's 100% not getting the infestation pit down anytime soon. In the middle of the map, we are going to have a first fight here. TLO does lose a lot. But what he's going to focus on, heavy Ling, heavy Baneling, heavy Mutalisk play. He's going to smash his opponent incredibly hard with lots of units over and over and over before he even thinks about going up to Hive. An incredibly strong mid game. MMA needs to identify that you don't need to be too aggressive in the mid game against this style.
Yeah, as long as you sit back on that 3 base of economy and then try to max out for now, it should be okay. But MMA is still doing very, very well in terms of that macro. 177 supply right now against 145. TLO could be in a little bit of bother if he's not careful. But the Widow Mines have to position themselves very, very well. An attempt at a drop hasn't even really killed off a Queen or anything just yet, and the Zerglings should be able to clean that up nicely.
Yeah, really, I haven't seen anybody build a second Spire in this matchup for a very long time. So this is pretty cool to see from TLO, and he should get that +1 carapace immediately and focus on his air upgrades. There we do have it coming in. So super strong play in the mid game. Oh, MMA out in the middle.
Oh, Zerglings coming in from either side here, along with Banelings connecting. Some of them did connect with Marauders, so not exactly effective. There's a super effective usage of those. Marines trying to reinforce as well, but TLO cleaned up a lot there. He's pushing on forwards once again, trying to pick up those Hellbats. They do get a lot of kills on the Zerglings, but in the end, TLO stands strong in the middle.
He stands strong in the middle, and remember, he's only getting stronger. Even though the supplies are still similar, TLO can morph a lot of Banelings again. He can make a lot more units and keep up a very heavy mid-game play. At this point, usually what a Terran player likes to do is hammer, 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 and then the one hammer strike which really lands is when the Zerg player is saving money to go Hive, Ultralisk, Greater Spy, whatever the case, right? But that's not going to happen in this game. So he can keep hammering away, and TLO can accept every assault. And the one thing that TLO needs to keep alive is Mutalisks.
Yeah.
They are the recyclable units in this scenario. If they climb up to a high count, especially with their upgrades, eventually TLO wins, just complete outwins.
Yeah, they're a very, very scary unit when they're fully upgraded here. And now, in MMA's position here, if you're not able to get a drop and see a second Spire, how do you see it? Do you see this by clicking on the Mutalisk, seeing their upgrades as quickly? Where does he go?
The only time he'll notice his second Spire when 2-1 is completed, because he could have got +1 armor after +1 attack. So it's going to be very hard for him to identify exactly, but all he needs to do is just scan for the main, check the Hive. That's the key indication. Drop behind it, build your macro up, set up defensively. But remember, Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutalisks become weaker as the game goes on, especially when 3-3 is coming on. So TLO does have the infestation pit down. We'll need to go Hive eventually here if MMA, like he's doing, starts to sit back a little bit now. This is the time that TLO goes over towards getting Ultralisks out. Or he may go Greater Spire, considering he's got air upgrades.
Yeah, he certainly could do. The Greater Spire, well, sorry, the Hive is now on the way. He's pushing his units' opponents back in the middle of the map, realizing that there's a lot of Mutalisks there, as well as the Zerglings and Banelings trying to wrap around some of these Marines. He could have tried to evacuate these, but the Medivacs would have almost certainly died as well to those Mutas. He's getting drilling claws behind us as well, and a lot of Zerglings actually floating on in. But at the third base here, MMA is quite well defended. Oh, but two of those Widow Mines hit a lot of the bio.
Is he defended, though? The MMA is dropping like we used to see him drop. The main base, down south at the 5th base as well, the 4th base. But his defense on the 3rd was not strong enough. If that was strong enough there, he was able to drop at the same time. That's the MMA we used to see, but he's not had the strong enough defense on his 3rd base, and TLO's cracked his economy. Once you crack the economy, what comes next? Production, and that's where TLO will win this game.
Yeah, TLO here taking a very, very nice supply count lead in 157 to 113, but their base will go down to the south here as MMA tries to stretch his opponent thin. Even despite the mobility of the Zerg here, it's very hard to defend a location so far away, and the hatchery will end up falling, but TLO doesn't really care at this point. He's going to go over to the 4th base, try and ransack that, and he will do so quickly. And now MMA, limited with his income, it's going to be hard for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be another drop on TLO's 4th base, which is something he should probably worry about. Because if he loses his 4th base, MMA's back on 3 bases again, then it actually puts, TLO behind, surprisingly. So he is coming down to deal with the threat of the Widow Mines. He needs an Overseer or a Spore Crawl around there. But still, TLO in an army is behind. Banelings ideally should be morphed. What's he doing? Why is he? I don't think he should fight in that. It's 3-3 versus 2-2.
Yeah, that's a scary fight.
He needs to come back and morph Banelings here.
If he keeps taking those kinds of fights, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But if he just sits back and defends these drops from time to time, he should be a little bit better suited to dealing with MMA later on. His 3-3 is also on the way. There's the 13 Banelings that we were inquiring after, and those should be helpful.
He lost a lot there. That actually pushed things in favor of MMA at this point. Those 13 Banelings are on the other side of the map. They need to get back. He can't lose. I mean, yes, he can lose this base here, but he needs to crush this army. If he crushes it, he's back in a winning seat.
Yeah, and TLO actually has very little money right now. Those mines are going to cause so much zoning out of his opponent whilst he completely kills off his bases. And despite TLO having, what, the 6 or 7 bases that he had up previously, they weren't mining to their fullest potential. And now MMA is actually shutting a lot of that down and taking the supply lead.
Yeah, he's dropping inside the main base with 3-3. He's dropping that 4th base, as mentioned earlier, a threat that was always going to be the case. TLO is crumbling at this point, trying to go up to the Ultra's cabin. He didn't hurt the 3rd base enough.
Oh, some good Baneling connections there for TLO, but still, MMA taking a 30 supply, or 20 or 30 supply lead here at this point, spreading his Marines out as well, pushing on forward. These Banelings need to make great connections. Yeah. He's morphing in a few more once again. He has a little bit more money to make some more, but MMA is doing well. If
TLO gets a cost-efficient fight without a 4th command center being down, MMA is running out of resources just as much as TLO is.
And there's a few Ultralisks being sprinkled in here. With the lack of Marauders, only now starting up that Marauder production, he could be a little bit scared if he goes into an engagement here.
All right, TLO is gonna pick off that grid. Okay, picks off them.
Oh no!
We should have got that and then turn around for the fight here. I don't think he actually saw it. But down here, Banelings are getting cancelled. Not good at all.
Yeah, it's a very, very good move for the Korean Terran here, trying to take this engagement. Once again, it loses a lot of Marines to that. Oh, and actually catches another drop here once again. So blow for blow, trade for trade here. MMA pulls back once again, tries to find a position to get a good engagement in as the Ultralist does move forwards.
Could be the key. Combined with the Mulist, they could be the key for TLO winning this game despite being behind in supply. He's had a couple of great Baneling hits, super cost efficient. Without those hits, he would have been in trouble. TLO saying, hey, buddy, low on money. How about now? Even lower? Or at least attempts to say that as MMA comes in to defend. But TLO needs to gather all his Ultras together. And Mulist, one big fight in the middle. If he wins that fight,
well, I mean, he's going to have to try and divide and conquer. Ooh, he has to divide and conquer because there's more bio coming along the map in the middle here. That's a lot of units. And TLO is trying to keep him back. But the Ultralists are kind of... They're very separated from his Mutalisks and all of his army as well. So despite TLO trying and wanting to take an engagement of separating, divide and conquering, he is also going to be divided, and that's really going to hurt him.
He's found the main base command center, which is going across for a 4th base. All the energy's done as well. TLO just suffocated MMA even harder.
And a few more Banelings actually morphing in here. One of the Ultralists comes out to try and save those. He wants those some Ultralists come in from the back as well. Forces the lift off. A good flank there from TLO. But MMA not done. Good reaction times. Picks up and tries to find another location.
If I could use one word to describe TLO right now, I would say composure. This is perfect play. Very patient play. But it's not over yet. He's still behind in supply. 5 Ultralists and 20 Mutalisks are his main army versus 50 Marines and 10 Marauders. And a bunch of mines. He's not out of the woods yet.
Morphing in a few more Banelings once again. But MMA has these mines set up in a fantastic position. They do have drilling claws, you have to remember, so they can burrow super, super fast. But if these Mutalisks, if they get connected with those mines, then that is going to be a sorry sight here for Mr. TLO.
TLO needs one good fight, and then the economy, because he's got more than his opponent.
Ultralist trying to soak up a lot of those Widow Mines, and they do with the Mutalist now flying in. Does he have enough anti-air to be able to deal with those along with the Ultralists? I don't think he's going to be able to, as those Ultras also tanking a lot of damage. Some good Widow Mine connections, though, as well as those Banelings actually moving in. Good control by MMA, and he just takes it. GG, game number 2 goes to MMA. He advances on to the round of 16.
What a close game that was. It was a really good game by both players there, but MMA cleans up a 2-0 and a 4-1 in total now with Tails.
Did not expect that, I'll be honest.
Did not expect that either.
Wow.
That was really good play from MMA. We saw, you know, I had glimpses of MMA playing of how he used to play. Drops in the main, drop in the 5th, come into the 4th, moving through the middle, you know, beautiful synchronized movement with his army. And that's what we saw in that game. TLO, though, was very much so in the game until the end, was always one fight, one good fight, one good fight, one good fight, but couldn't quite find it, unfortunately.
And TLO, I mean, you generally don't hear the idea of a Zerg being so too spread out, but I think that he genuinely was in that game. It's a hard time to, you know, expand everywhere, and you're trying to and get your economy up and running, but MMA was just hitting everywhere, and that's a hard thing to deal with, even when you're so mobile.
Yeah, he played so well, and he does join the ranks of MVP, Tefl, MC, and Stefano. Now MMA is into the round of 16 and will be playing live in Cologne, Germany once again, where he gets the chance to prove his worth to everybody and all his fans and followers out there. So a great position for MMA to be in.
Now that concludes our third match. MMA advances on, but we now have to find out who is going to be that first player falling down to Challenger, as well as who will be that player advancing on to play TLO for that last round of 16 spot. It's going to be Mana versus Tails. Don't go anywhere.